Good afternoon. I'm going to report about the 1935, the Commonwealth Constitution. So this is prepared by group number 3. So a little background about the Commonwealth Constitution. The 1935 Constitution provided the legal basis of the Commonwealth government, which was considered a transition government before granting the Philippine independence with an American-inspired institution. So it was written in 1934, approved and adopted by the Commonwealth of the Philippines 1935 to 1946, and later used by the Third Republic 1946 to 1972. So first, let us define what is Commonwealth. So Commonwealth is an independent country or community, especially a democratic republic. So ibig sabihin ng Commonwealth ay kilala din bilang republika kung saan ito ay ginagamit sa mga asosasyong pangkapatiran ng ilang mga nasyong soberanya o mga bansang malaya o nagsasarili. So consists of President, Vice President, Cabinet members, Legislature, Judiciary, Civil Service. So binubuo ito ng Pangulo, Pangalawang Pangulo, Gabinete, Batasan, Hudikatura at Serbisyong Sibil. Ito rin ay binubuo ng mga Pilipino. Two acts of United States Congress passed that may be considered to have qualities of constitutionality. The first one is the Philippine Organic Act of 1902. The second one is the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1960. Philippine Organic Act of 1902. This is the first organic law for the Philippine Islands. The legislative power was vested, or let's say given, in a bicameral legislature composed of the Philippine Commission as the upper house and the Philippine Assembly as the lower house. So when you say bicameral, there are two chambers or branches within the government. So there are two key provisions of this act. The first one is the Bill of Rights of Filipinos. It is like the Declaration of Rights or a list of important rights of Filipinos. The second one is the appointment of two non-voting Filipino resident commissioners of the Philippines as their representatives to the United States House of Representatives. Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916. This is commonly known as Jones Law. Modified the structure of the Philippine government through the removal of the Philippine Commission, replacing it with a Senate that served as the upper house and its members elected by the Filipino voters. So binagong ang pamamahala sa gobyerno, pinalitan ng Senate ang Philippine Commission sa pagiging upper house. Ang maaaring maging parte o miyembro nito ay nasa kamay ng pagboto ng mga Pilipino kung sino ang maaaring ihalal. It explicitly declared the purpose of the United States to end its sovereignty over the Philippines and recognize the Philippine independence as soon as a stable government can be established. So, parang sinasabi dito na a stable government was equivalent to the Philippine independence. In 1932, the Hair Horse Cutting Act was passed by the United States Congress. So, with the efforts of Filipino independence mission led by Sergio Osmeña and Manuel Rojas, but opposed by then Senate President Manuel L. Quezon, and consequently rejected the Philippine Senate. Ito, for the reason na parang it was not stated that the US will truly free Philippines from them. The law promised independence after 10 years but reserved several militaries and naval bases for the United States as well as imposed tariffs and quotas on Philippine imports. So, this is the first law that sets a specific date for the Philippine independence from US. Ito din ang isa sa dahilan kung bakit ito tinutulan dahil sa probisyon sa pagtatag ng base militar at paghigpit sa mga Pilipinong mandarayuhan sa Amerika. In 1934, the Tidings-McDuffie Act was passed by the United States Congress, also known as the Philippine Independence Act, provided authority and defined mechanism for the establishment of a formal constitution by a constitutional convention. So, ang Tidings-McDuffie Act, na kilala din sa tawag na Philippine Independence Act, ay ang batas na nagbigay sa Pilipinas ng kalayaan. Nilagdaan ito ni Pangulong Franklin Roosevelt noong 1934. Ipinadala niya sa Pilipinas para maaprobohan. At additional lang po is yung provision ng batas ay ang pagkakaroon ng halalan noong 1934 para sa isang constitutional convention. Ito yung gagawa or maglilika ng konstitusyon ng pamahalaang Commonwealth. The members of the convention were elected and held their first meeting on July 30, 1934, with Claro M. Recto unanimously elected as president. So, ang convention na ito ay pinununuan ni Claro M. Recto kasama ang 200 na nahalal na delegado. The Commonwealth Constitution. The Constitution was crafted to meet the approval of the United States government, to ensure that the United States would live up to its promise to grant independence to the Philippines. It created the Commonwealth of the Philippines that governed our country from 1935 to 1946. So, dito napagkasundaan nila sa Constitution na gagawin na hindi lamang para sa transitional na pamahalaang Commonwealth, kundi para sa mailalatag o maitatatag na republika. It is the transitional administration to prepare the country for full achievement of independence. It provided for a unicameral National Assembly with a president and a vice president elected to a 6-year term without re-election. It was amended in 1940 to have a bicameral Congress. The term for president and vice president was limited to 4 years with 1 re-election. So, ginawa ang Commonwealth upang maihanda ang bansang pangakong pagsasariling ito. Binigyang prioridad din ito ang mga dapat unahin ng pamahalaan gaya ng mga sumusunod. Pag-amenda sa 1935 Constitution upang pahintulutan ang muling paghalal sa Pangulo at Pangalawang Pangulo at magtatag ng isang ahensya sa halalang pambansa, ang Commission on Elections. Rights to suffrage were originally afforded to male citizens of the Philippines who are able to read and write. The draft of the Constitution was approved by the Constitutional Convention on February 8, 1935 and ratified by then U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt, as was mentioned earlier, on March 25, 1935. Changes brought by the Commonwealth Constitution. So the first one is the acknowledgement to the women's right in voting for the election. So nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa panahon ng Commonwealth. Una na dito ang pagkilala sa karapatan ng kababaihan na bumoto. Nabigyan na ang mga kababaihan ng pagkakataong gamitin ang kanilang karapatan bumoto sa halalan. The second one is social justice. So, katarungang panlipunan. Isa rin ito sa tinuunan ng pansin ng konstitusyong ito. Ang promosyon ng katarungang panlipunan upang masiguro na responsibilidad ng pamahalaan na pangalagaan ang kapakanan ng mga tao laban sa mga mapang-abusong mga mamamayan at ibigay sa mga tao ang nararapat para sa kanila. Changes and policies implemented. Minimum wage. So, para sa manggagawa, itong minimum wage na ito. 8 hours of work. 8 oras na pagtatrabaho ng mga manggagawa sa mga pribado at pampublikong industriya. Third one is Court of Industrial Relations. So, ang pagkakatatag ng Court of Industrial Relations upang maisaayos ang mga sigalot sa pagitan ng mga manggagawa at may-ari ng industriya. The fourth one is the National Rice and Corn Corporation. Ang pagtatag ng National Rice and Corn Corporation upang mapangalagaan ang mga mamimili at mga nagbebenta laban sa sobrang pagtaas o pagbaba ng presyo. The fifth one is the National Relief Administration. Nabuo ang National Relief Administration upang makipag-ugnayan sa pamahalaan ang pribadong sektor ukol sa mga relief operations para sa panahon ng kalamidad. Homestead Act. Ito ay tumutukoy sa sukat ng lupa na maaaring tirhan ng isang mamamayan. So the last one is promoting the national language. Pagsulong ng wikang pambansa. Naniniwala si Pangulong Quezon na ang pagkakaroon ng pambansang wika ay ang magbubuklod sa mga tao at magbibigay ng pagkakakilanlan sa mga Pilipino at sa bansa. November 13, 1936, establishment of Institution of the National Language. Itinatag ang Institution of National Language upang magsagawa ng pag-aaral sa mga dialekto ng Pilipinas. So, in December 13, 1937, Declaration of Tagalog as basis of the national language. Pinoklama ni President Quezon ang Tagalog bilang pambansang wika. September 1935, the election was held and Manuel L. Quezon was elected as the President of the Commonwealth. Noong September 16, 1935, 1,000,000 Pilipino ang dumagsa sa mga botohan para ihalal ang dalawang pinakamataas na opisyal, ang Pangulo at ang Pangalawang Pangulo. Nahalal si Manuel L. Quezon bilang Pangulo at ang katambal niya na si Sir Jasmine bilang Pangalawang Pangulo. Dito, natalo nila ang tambalang Emilio Aguinaldo at Raimundo Miliza. The Commonwealth was briefly interrupted by the events of World War II, Japanese occupying our country. So, naantala po ang Commonwealth dahil sa pag-usbong ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig na halos kumitil sa buhay ng maraming Pilipino. But in July 4, 1946, the Philippines was finally declared an independent republic. So, yun lang po. Thank you.